Hello, welcome. I'm Necrolog. If you're one of those people who would like to have like a giant chunky sketchbook that you see on Pinterest all the time, or an interactive sketchbook, come to the right place. In this tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you how to craft a spinner. So for materials, you're going to need paper. Make sure that your paper is sturdy, like thick sketchbook paper or construction paper. Sometimes I even use thin cardboard like a cereal box. You also need a writing utensil, scissors, an X-Acto knife if you have one, and any adhesive such as glue or tape. Okay, so to form the shape of the spinner, you're going to want to outline the shape you'd like to spin and cut it out. I'm doing a circle, but it could be any shape. It can also be any size as well. Now we're going to add the attachment point. You're going to find where you'd like the point of attachment to be on your shape and mark it with a decently sized circle. The point of attachment is basically the point where your shape will rotate around. It doesn't have to be the center like I'm doing it could be anywhere. When drawing the circle, keep in mind that the bigger it is, the less likely it is to break, and vice versa. Now that you have your attachment point marked out, we're going to cut it out. And the easiest way to do it, if you have an X-Acto knife like I do, if you don't have one, here's some other ways to go about it. And these definitely aren't the most conventional ways to cut it out, so I'm going to be listing them from easiest to hardest. So the easiest way to go about this without an X-Acto knife is to fold up your sheet of paper into a little triangle and cut off the very tip of that triangle. Try not to cut off too much because the amount that you cut off will multiply because it's going to go all around. And you're just going to want to cut your shape around where you'd like your attachment point to be. So for the second one, you're going to take a needle. And what we're going to do is we're going to hole punch around the circle. And it's a little tedious and a little dangerous. Make sure not to poke your own fingers. But it's pretty precise and gets the job done. You can also use a lead pencil for this, but it's a little harder. Now, to make the pen, we're going to cut out another circle a bit larger than the one we cut previously. The easiest way to do this is by placing your shape onto another sheet of paper and tracing the circle from the shape onto the paper. Now we're going to draw a border around the circle we just drew. Make sure it's big enough to hold onto the shape. I eyeball it all the time, but making the border around 1/3 bigger than the original shape should be safe. After drawing out our border, we're going to cut along that line. We're going to mark up the pin again by drawing 4 lines evenly spaced out and halfway down the center of the pin. It should look like this. After drawing those 4 lines, cut along them, and it should form 4 flaps. Fold 2 flaps across from each other, down. This should form a little bow tie shape. Now to assemble the spinner, we're going to insert the folded flaps into the hole we created in the shape. The pin should be able to spin smoothly without falling off. If it doesn't spin smoothly, and the 2 pieces rub up against each other, it means that the flaps are too short. To fix this, cut further down the line and closer to the center. Now that the flaps are a little longer, it can spin a lot smoother. If the pin falls out of the hole, it means that the pin isn't big enough and you have to make a new one that's larger and fits the hole. Now that our spinner is fully assembled, on the back of your spinner, slide a piece of tape under both flaps. Make sure that the tape doesn't stick onto the shape or it won't spin. Give it a little test spin before attaching it to your surface. Now that you have adhesive on your spinner, you can paste it into any page in your sketchbook. You can leave the pin exposed, but for those who would like to cover it up, I have 2 methods. Method number 1, tape a drawing or another piece of paper on top. Just make sure that you don't accidentally stick down the spinner along with it or it won't spin. So make sure to give it enough room so it can spin around smoothly. And method number 2, you can attach a drawing on top of the spinner. I prefer glue, but you can also roll up some tape and stick it on like I'm doing now. And once again, make sure you don't accidentally stick down any part of the spinner along with it. And like a puppet with rigs, you can use the pins to stack more than 1 sheet of paper together to make this little armature thing I just did right now. And that's how I made those angel wings you saw in the beginning of the video. And that's pretty much it. And if you ever post them on your TikTok or Instagram, tag me at Necrolog. Bye bye!